Welcome to the AdSense Flippers podcast. Are you sick and tired of gurus who have plenty of ideas but are short on substance? Worried that ebook you bought for $17.95 won't bring you the personal and financial freedom you long for? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others in their pursuit of niche profits without the bullshit. Straight from your hosts, Justin and Joe of AdSense Flippers.
Welcome to episode 25 of the AdSense Flippers podcast. I'm your host, Justin Cook, and I'm here with Joe Hot Money Magnati. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, everybody?
It's good to be back on the show. I know it's been a little while. I've been really busy with projects. We've kind of been fluctuating on our weeks, but we are back with you. We've got a great episode lined up this week. We're going to be talking all about how to say no, why to say no, when to say no, that type of thing. And that's no to projects, no to new ideas, no to distractions. And we're going to get into that a bit more, but first let's do some news and updates. First thing, we still got our niche site giveaway going on. So for any review that we get on iTunes, we're going to be randomly selecting someone to receive a free niche site from us. That's good through June 30th. So if you haven't left us an iTunes review, please go do that and you will be in the drawing.
Awesome. And that's from any country or just select countries, right?
No, buddy. Yeah. US, UK, Australia, and Canada only. I know we got some people asking about Germany. They said, hey, we love the podcast in Germany. We'll do something special for Germany here in the near future. So we'll give them a little bit of love. So next thing we got is your trip to Manila. You left me, buddy. It was like 5-6 days.
Yeah, it was nice. Got away. Got to meet some business professionals. Got to have a little fun. Got to have lunch with Dave Starr of PhilFax.com. He bought me lunch, so thank you, Dave. Yeah, it was a great meeting.
Cool, man. Yeah, I heard you met up with another guy, Bob. You met up with his assistant and talking a little bit of business over there. How's that going?
Talking call center stuff. You know, they have a pretty big operation, 130-man operation over there in Makati. And was checking that out, went to dinner with them. So, you know, just working the business contacts as usual.
Yeah, the call center stuff does really, really well in Manila. I mean, it's not that big here in Davao. There are a couple of major call centers, but it's really fragmented down here. Be interesting to see some like large companies start heading down here. I know they're starting to get a little more infrastructure in Davao. Be interesting to see over the next few years as that kind of develops a bit.
But I tell you, a low margin business, man, you got to have a lot of seats to make any money.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. If you're only making, you know, let's say $100 to $200 a month profit per agent, I mean, you really got to be, you got to have a ton of agents. Think about all the business too. You got to be chasing business, chasing business.
And not only that, all the expenses, you really got to look at expenses. You really got to justify every little cost, because some months you could be making a little bit of money, but some months you could lose your ass.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a higher margin business and you're working with outsourcing in the Philippines, it's nice because you can do those extras, right? Like you can have the bean bags and the flat screen TV in the office, like in the break room and stuff. You can do some like little extras that you wouldn't normally see in call centers here, and that will help attract the better talent. But yeah, it's really hard to do that in the call center industry because everything's so cutthroat. It's like really, you know, going to zero. Not zero, but really cheap, right? Next thing, man, I just bought myself a present. A Samsung Galaxy S3.
Yeah, you upgraded. You had the original Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah,
right?
it was slow. The RAM was miserable and it was just sucking. Like I had to open the Kindle and it would like lock up on me. It'd take like 10 minutes to restart my phone, dude. I was not happy with it. So I upgraded. I had to get the white phone and not dark blue, so I don't know. But still, I mean, it's the inside that counts, right? I mean, who cares what it looks like?
Yeah, you put a case on that thing. No one will know that you have a girly phone.
Thanks, man.
We have to do a little side-by-side comparison with my phone because I have the Galaxy Nexus, and supposedly they're supposed to be almost the same phone. So it'd be interesting to see what they look like side-by-side.
Almost the same is the operative term there. No. So, you know, next point of business we had is John the intern. John K. DeVries has a new site up. I really like it. It's called whatthedev.com. And here's the basic idea. He's been working on us with some projects, some development projects, and working with offshore developers and onshore developers, that type of thing. And it's a real pain in the butt. I mean, for anyone who's like kind of a marketer or maybe a business guy but not a tech guy, it's really difficult to figure out what kind of programmer you need. So, John has the unique ability to kind of be clear. He's one of those programmers, designers that can kind of like communicate well too, which isn't always the case. And so I think he's uniquely suited to kind of help guide people through that process. So he started the site. Give it a look, whatthedev.com. I'm digging it. I think he has a lot of content ideas, wants to help people find good programmers, developers for their projects. I like it too because I help him connect with people that are like really doing, interesting stuff, I think.
Yeah, and really interested to see where he takes it and what kind of feedback we get from the listeners and readers when they go over there and read some of his posts. So it'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, if you take a look and check it out, if you could leave some feedback, let him know what you think, and maybe you can help steer him in the right direction. You guys have been really helpful for us.
So the last thing I want to mention, Justin, is, we are trying to take some feedback here from our listeners. We would like to get some of their questions on the air, the next podcast, next episode. So we have a little link down the bottom in the show notes where you can actually record your own question. It's through a little service, a free service that we have available. But check it out, and if you have a question for us out there, please record your voice, and we may put you on the next show.
I love this feature, man. What's the name of the company that does this?
Hold on a second. I will have it for you. It's called speakpipe.com.
Speakpipe.com. It's cool, yeah. So basically, it's push button. You push a button, you can record your voice, ask questions, leave comments, that kind of thing. And then we can add you into the AdSense Flippers podcast show in the next episode. So we'll do that every episode. If you want to, say something, ask a question, just say hi. You can do that and just let us know, and we'll get the email.
Yeah, maybe we're going to have a new segment, questions from the listeners.
Yeah, man, listener questions. That's cool. Last point we want to talk about is techtalks.ph. So when we were in Cebu, we met up with Tina, and she started this group called techtalks.ph, and it's really grown, right? They had a fantastic growth rate on developers and designers and business people joining this group, getting together, having dinner, talking about different projects they're working on, to the point where they decided to launch a startup weekend in Cebu, which I thought was fantastic, right? It was really cool. Well, she wants to open up something like that in Davao, a Davao branch, right? So she talked to us about it, see if we'd be willing to do it. The truth is, I really wanted to. It's one of those things that you definitely want to do. The problem is, I know I've got way too much on my plate right now.
Yeah, and it's not the kind of thing you want to half-ass. So
yeah, I don't want to screw it up because I want it to be good because I know it has the potential to be, right?
Yeah, and plus, Tina is the real deal, and people over at Tech Talks are the real deal, and I would hate to let them down. I would hate to say yes and not follow through all the way. That makes me, really lose a lot of value, lose a lot of respect in their eyes.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is we were able to turn Tina on to Dulce, who, runs a group here in Davao, bloggers. So we're still going to be able to get it done, but we're going to do it, have her kind of spearhead it, and we can be involved as far as sponsors, mentorships, right? And still meet up with the crew, see if there's anyone that we can hire for projects. So we're still going to be able to get it done. It's just that we're going to be taking a lesser role. And I think it was a really smart move for us, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we really have to focus on our own business, unfortunately. Now, I hate to be selfish, but, there is a limited amount of hours in the day kind of thing.
Well, that leads right into the heart of this week's episode.
The AdSense Flippers Podcast.
So this week's episode is all about mastering the art of saying no. And it's funny because everyone tells you, yes, right? You should say yes to things and be more involved and try to reach out and put as many fingers, as many pies as possible. And sometimes that's decent advice, but we're going to talk about all the reasons that it's not today.
Yeah, I hate to be so negative, but this is pretty important. And I kind of, as my career has gone on and I've gotten older and older, I kind of love saying no because it really makes you selective, which is one of the things we'll get into later. But the things you get that you say yes about, like Derek Sivers says, right? It's either hell yeah or no. I mean, if you're not really interested in doing it and you're just kind of like, you're very blasé about it, then you should just throw it in the no pile and look for things that you're a lot more interested in.
Well, that's the problem too, is that if you're kind of interested, right, it's so much easier to just say yes. You can just throw the yes out there and, but then everything that comes with it. And we'll get into that in a bit. But we have a buddy of ours we were talking to recently, Damien, who just realized, like a light bulb went off in his head, and he said, wow, I'm starting to tell clients no, from the outset. When something seems a little off, a little fishy, I'm telling them no, I'm not going to do business with them. And I'm realizing that I just saved myself 2 or 3 months of heartache with this miserable client, right? And we didn't figure that out for a while either. It's maybe a couple of years ago that we started to realize that. Because at first, right, with outsourcing, we take on anyone. We said, oh, they want to give us money? We should take their money. That's a good thing, right? But we started realizing that if it wasn't a very good fit for us, it ended up horribly.
Now, this doesn't mean that it won't be hard work. I mean, there could be clients that come to you, and it could be a difficult job to do. But if it's something you can do and they're willing to pay for that, then it's a balance, right? it's probably something that I would say yes to if I had the bandwidth to do it. But if you have a client that's just going to be over the top, take a lot of your time away, be overbearing, and not pay you a lot, that's probably a client you have to say no to. And I'm glad that Damien's learned that, because when we learned that in the outsourcing game and stopped chasing those clients, wow, it made the deals that work so much better.
It always makes you wonder, because I know that we've said no to deals that might have worked, but for all the ones that wouldn't have, we saved ourselves time and money.
Yeah, I think if we had a bigger organization, maybe this wouldn't be as true.
I don't think so. I think a bigger organization makes it worse. It compounds the problem, right? So if we have 180 agents, right, and we take on some of those projects that are kind of miserable too, now we're just kind of spreading that miserableness out throughout our bigger organization.
Yeah, but if you had a small team that was just in charge of implementation and that went through the clients, and you could measure those new clients, you could really have a hold on things, and it wouldn't take too much of your time. The problem is with our organization, we have to actually go through the process ourselves. So.
Yeah. Well, before we get to our 6 points, one more thing I want to point out. I know a guy named Todd, and he used to talk about this. I really like this. He'd say, let's have yes days. And so his idea was, whether it was his wife, his kids, people at work, he would practice for one entire day saying yes. Honey, can I have some money to go shopping today? Yes. Dad, can I get some extra money to buy some candy? Yes. And he wouldn't tell anyone, but he would do these yes days. And I think it's an interesting experiment. I just wanted to throw it out there before we get into the negative no's, right? But yeah, I think it's an interesting experience. I've tried it out myself and had some really interesting success, and interesting things happen. You kind of go down these rabbit holes that you wouldn't normally, and it's a great, just kind of a lifestyle trick you can play every once in a while. It's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember playing it at the office too. I don't think I lasted the whole day though. I think I did have to say no by lunchtime.
Yeah.
So
that's not terribly surprising. Okay. First point, saying yes is costly. And you don't always realize it when you're getting into it. So you say yes, right? It makes you feel good. It's like a weight off your shoulders because you say yes to them, right? And then later on you realize, oh my God, how much time, effort, cash, energy you're gonna have to put into this project that you said yes to, kind of just to feel better at the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would say even backing off from projects, just talking about middle managers. We have a friend who's moving to Manila to take a job, and he's becoming a middle manager. And I think one of the first things he probably has to learn is to say no. When you have employees come up to you and go, oh, hey, how about this new project? Or how about we do this? Or how about we do things this way? Your initial reaction, you want to be friends with your employees. You want them to like you. You want to please them. And so therefore you say yes to a lot of things without realizing what the cost is long term in terms of productivity, efficiency, overtime, all that kind of stuff.
Same things work with vendors too, right? You get vendors in your office, you have people trying to sell you something, and especially if it's kind of interesting, you want to say yes. But then you realize all the different changes you're going to have to make within your organization to implement whatever it is that they're selling.
Yes.
I have to learn something new, right? The training cost and then the time spent there, that it can be kind of miserable. So
yeah, a good example of that is the ISO certified.
ISO certification.
Yeah, ISO certification. They want to pay us want us to pay money to do it and come in and do all the documentation for us. And I looked at it, and really the bigger problem, more than the cost and them doing all the work, was all the process changes we would have to do. So yeah, when vendors that it seems like it's not going to cost you a lot in the beginning, long term could cost you a lot.
Yeah, I think it's the time too that can be burdensome, right? Because there's an opportunity lost. If you say yes to this thing that is kind of mediocre, what happens to your current projects? Right, and you can put yourself in a position to where you're giving less love and attention to something that's higher value, or that you care about more, honestly, that you're more interested in.
Right.
And so that little bit of feeling good and saying yes can really hurt some of the projects that you're focused on now, and you have to be careful with that and consider the cost. Second point is that learning to say no is difficult, and generally difficult things pay off. I'll give you an example. Someone's chasing you, right? You make your way to the stairwell. Do you go up or do you go down? Up, right? Up is better, because if someone's chasing you, there's a good chance you want to get away from them more than they want to get to you, right? So if you go up, you make it much more difficult for them. It's a more difficult path or road to take. So it's generally better to take the harder route, and saying no is often harder. It's more difficult to say no.
So your theory here is that if it's a really good deal or it's a really good project or whatever it is, if it's good, then by saying no, you will just convince the person to try harder if it is actually a good thing. If it's a bad thing and it's not really going to work out, then saying no will have them kind of just go away?
No, not really. No, that's not really what I meant. I guess I'm saying that things that are more difficult are in a better position for you to succeed and be better, right? To do better. So you're going to be able to get away from problems, your competition that's chasing you down, right? So when you start something, if there's a low barrier to entry, anyone can join, everyone can do it. So you're racing against basically everyone up the stairs. If it's a really difficult staircase, you're going to have less people trying to compete, right? They're going to go, oh, I don't want to have to go all that distance and all that way to compete with these guys. I'm going to go for the easy route. I'm going to pay my $17.95 for the ebook and take the easy way out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Just the fact that saying no is more difficult tends to make it a better route to take because you want to separate yourself from the competition. Third point is saying yes and not following through is poor integrity.
Yeah, like we were saying before with Tech Talks, right? This is the real reason why I didn't want to say yes, is because I didn't want to have to commit a whole bunch of time, effort, and energy to something that I knew I couldn't do right now, and therefore lose respect by someone that, you know, I consider not only a colleague but a friend. And it would be a sign of poor integrity if I didn't follow through.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into the trap of online anonymity, right? To think, okay, well, it doesn't really matter because I can say yes to this or chase after this and then not do it. It's not that big of a deal. No one's going to care. But people do care, right? And especially doing business is doing business, whether it's online or, you know, in person, it's doing business. So it's really important to keep your integrity. I mean, it's business is all about trust, right? And working with people that you know, respect, and trust. And if you're finding yourself working with people that don't do things when they say they're going to do them, take on more than they can chew, you're going to start to avoid those people for really good and interesting projects you want to work with them on.
Yeah, I mean, we've had examples of people who we've reached out to do things for us. They've said, yes, I'll do that for you. And then 2 weeks later, they said, oh, well, I couldn't do it because of X, Y, and Z excuse, when really they should have just said no up front.
Yeah, it just puts you in a position where you don't want to work with them again. And so I want the people that I'm working with, right, to know that I am on board. We are working together. We're going to get this done. And for them to be confident in the fact that I'm going to say no to things that aren't on point, that aren't, you know, part of our goals. So the fourth point, saying no keeps you focused on your yeses.
I love this one because it's absolutely true that if you have a limited number of projects that you're focused on, you can focus more time and effort and energy on those particular things going on. I see it all the time where we talk about this all the time. People get the shiny new object syndrome and, oh, I'm going to do this now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do this. You know what? If you just take a couple of items and focus on those items and say no to everything else unless something really good comes along, you'll be that much more successful.
Also, the more projects you take on, you're really diluting yourself. And there's a cost in between, like focusing on one project to another. So any of the time management guys will tell you this, but you have to switch from one particular focus to another. It takes a little while to make that adjustment, right? So the more times you have to do that and the more projects and things you're working on, the more losses you take that add up throughout the day, the week, the month, that type of thing.
Yeah, and just the thinking energy that it takes to focus on completely different projects. I mean, you know, it's like changing gears in a car, you know, it just takes a lot of energy.
And our fifth point, you have your own best interests at heart. I think this is absolutely true, right? So when someone comes along and they say, hey, you know, we should do this, or I think you should do this with me, right? A lot of times they're not even considering your value at all, right? And those are the worst. Those are people you don't normally do business with anyway,
right.
But they're totally focused on themselves and have no interest in your benefit.
Well, I think we've either had another podcast or we could make a whole nother episode on the win-win philosophy, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, that's for another time.
But even the people that do come to you with the win-win philosophy, right? They don't know all the things that are going on with you, all the other things that are going on in your head, your capability at that moment, right? So they think there are things they can't know. They're trying to look out for your benefits, but there are things they can't know about your schedule and capability and where you're at. So, you're the best person to decide that for you, right? So, and you're the one that's going to know, what's best for you as far as your career, as far as your project path. So you saying no, you're the only one that can, right? No one else will say no for you. If everyone else had their opportunity, you'd say yes to everything they present.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say this extends further than just business. This could extend to other parts of your life. I mean, it's so easy to look at someone and want to say yes all the time, but you really do have to look at yourself and put your needs first and make sure that you're looking out for number one.
Yeah, do you want to go out Tuesday night? Someone else calls you up, well, do you want to go out Thursday night? Why don't we go out drinking? Why don't we go do this, right? There's lots of things to do that could distract you. And it's fun to have a yes day every once in a while. But if you're constantly saying yes to these types of things, you're going to get completely distracted and not really focus on what you need to be doing. Our sixth point and final point is it makes your yeses that much more meaningful. So people know if they come to, we'll typically say no, and I'll graciously say no, right? Like I can't do that, and I'll explain my reasoning. But when I do say yes, they know I'm on board, right? And I think that's the difference, is that I want to know that if I go to someone with a particular plan, we want to work together on something, that if they are on board, it's an absolute yes. The people that say yes all the time or kind of half-heartedly mean it and move on to something else because they say yes to everyone, that's hurtful. That's not helpful. Right?
Yeah, this goes back to your other point number 4, but you're diluting yourself, right? When you say yes too often. So,
well, you're hurting your reputation too. I can't believe that where you're actually going to get it done. You're going to be flighty. Right? So don't be flighty. Don't be flighty to others so that they can have that respect for you that you want from other people. So when I go to the people and when they say yes, I know they mean it, that's the kind of person that I want to be. So I aspire to be that way. I'm not naturally that way, honestly. I'm more of the, yes, I want to say yes. Oh, that sounds cool, right? So I think I've learned a lot of that from you, actually, because you're more of the no guy. No, I don't want to do it. Convince me that I should do it.
Yeah, well, I hate being the no guy, but yeah, I'm definitely more of the convince me guy. And I want to see it explained to me. I want to go through the points. I want to, do the Ben Franklin analysis, pros and cons. And I want to really make sure that everything I get involved with is something that I can throw my weight behind, because if it's not, then I'll just move on to something else. And what you shouldn't do is be so desperate for a project or for work or for anything that you're willing to say yes. Don't fall into that trap. I think that's a problem that entrepreneurs fall into, which is they're like, well, I just need the business, so I'm going to say yes. Try not to do that. That could definitely be a downfall.
What about this, Joe? So you're in a situation where someone, they want you to get on board with something, whatever that something is, get involved, spend some time, money, whatever it is. And you kind of like it, it's interesting, but there's that feeling of like, if I don't get involved and I miss out on an opportunity, how do you avoid that, you think?
I would look at your other opportunities, the opportunities that you have already. And, this may not apply to everyone out there, but it should apply to most of you. So, whatever you have going on probably makes some money and probably could make more money. Well, why not just invest more time and effort and energy into something you already know instead of the unknown? That's how I look at a lot of these things. If I say yes, it's an unknown. You could lay it out for me on spreadsheets and papers and have the best plan, but you really don't know what's going to happen once we implement this, whatever it may be.
It's an unknown universe. So I was listening to this commencement speech by this guy a while back, and I'll try to link to it in the show notes. It's great. Guy talks about, even when he was young, he's a writer, right? And he had a goal, and the goal was this mountain. He said, I'm going to continue to head toward that mountain. And he was given opportunities to make, as a young kid, whatever, $60,000 a month being a writer for this newspaper or magazine or whatever, but it was pointing away from that mountain. He said, no, I still have a goal. So he would turn down opportunities because he wants to continue down the path. And there are times where those jobs are in between him and the mountain, and he would take it, right? Until he gets to the point where he can't learn anything more, and he needs to let the job go so he can continue on his path. I think that's a good way to think about it. Have a long-term goal in mind, and if things are leading you toward that goal, take it. If they're not, pass it up.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's definitely a good way to look at it. But you should definitely be flexible and open. I don't want the crux of our argument here to be say no all the time until someone really convinces you. You definitely need to have an open mind. You need to be flexible. You need to have the ability to adjust and adapt, things we've always talked about before. But yeah, in general, unless it's a convincing project, gonna build towards a long-term goal, or gonna meet some other needs that you may have, monetary or otherwise, then you shouldn't say yes.
The worst too, though, is that if you're going to say yes, then jump in full force. Don't half-ass it, right? Being mediocre in internet marketing and God, anything really is horrible. You know, riding the rail, being in the middle is terrible, right? You need to be all about it if you're going to say yes. So just know that it's going to take up a good portion of your time and you have to be completely invested in it or you shouldn't do it at all. All right, man, let's get right into the ninja marketing tips, tricks, and our plans for the future.
The AdSense Flippers podcast continues.
So our first tip that you should definitely check this out, it's called The Buried Life. I'm a little slow on this. I think it's like they have an MTV show or something back in the States. But anyway, here's the deal. There's a group of guys and they got together and basically decided to live out a bucket list, right? So their goal was to say, they had made up a list of goals, some of them completely outrageous, and said, we're gonna pool our cash, we're gonna start doing these goals and we're gonna start getting them done. And one of the goals too was for every goal that they attain, they're going to try to help someone else attain their goal, which is kind of cool, like a pay it forward type thing. Mm-hmm. So start off, and the truth is they're doing some amazing shit, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a couple of the items here. Basketball with the president.
Yeah, that's one of their goals. They want to play basketball at the White House with the president. First they were told no, then they finally got on, showed up there, and the president walks out and plays basketball with them. Dude, that's ridiculous. Second thing is they threw the first pitch to a Major League Baseball game. And another one is they put $125,000 on one roulette spin, won, and then doubled down on the next spin.
And didn't win?
Didn't win,
yeah.
Man. $250,000 they lost betting on black or whatever it is. Crazy stuff. I mean, really, really cool. I mean, these are guys that are just doing amazing stuff, right? And the cool thing is they're helping other people do these amazing things as well. So it's definitely something for you to check out. I think it's theburiedlife.com. I forget exactly what it is, but I'll link to it in the show notes. You could argue that the reason they're able to get these things done is by saying yes to things.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, why is this a good reason as no?
Well, think about this, buddy. Like, they had to say no to a lot of other crap to make this happen. They had to say no to their jobs. They had to say no to all the people who were telling them it's a stupid idea. Right? They had to say no. They're getting probably lots of offers right now to do this, that, or the other that they have to say no to. So, I mean, there are a ton of no's. You see the cool yeses and the cool things they're doing, but you don't think about all the no's that are happening there as well. Anyway, amazing stuff. You should definitely check it out.
Interesting. I will have to check that out.
Second tip is from Internet Business Mastery. These guys are the godfathers of internet marketing podcasts. They've been around a really long time, put on a really good show. You should check it out. But if you check out their blog, they've also got a case study on niche sites. So they've started going through different monetization methods. They're kind of looking at it as a more kind of general thing, like the different ways you can monetize these niche sites. And they're legit guys. So it's really interesting to see them getting into it as well. And I see that they're pretty popular posts. I'll link to that, but it's definitely something you should check out.
And do they say no to a lot of things, or?
I don't know, man. I'm guessing they do. We could probably ask them about it. But I was listening they were on the Foolish Adventure podcast with Tim Conley. And I was just listening to it. I was out for a walk and listening, and they were talking. They ended up mentioning AdSense Flippers podcast, and they said they love how ridiculous it is. People will pay $300, or they're looking to pay $300 for someone to create them a niche site that makes $300 a month.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny. And I saw him on Twitter or whatever, and I was like, "Hey guys, check out this." So I looked for 5 minutes on Odesk and saw 3 or 4 of those job offerings. I'll pay you $300. You prove to me you've made a niche site that makes $300 a month. Show me the proof. After it's made it for 2 months, then I'll pay you your $300. So after it's made $600 for me, I'll pay you $300 for creating a site. It's ridiculous, dude.
It really
Who believes this crap?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that, these people are looking to leverage third world labor somehow because they can't get AdSense accounts.
Well, they think they're retarded then.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what they're saying. We think you're...
But really what they're doing is they're setting themselves up to be scammed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll do it for you. I'll give you fake screenshots. I'll click on your ads to make sure that you make enough, and then your AdSense account gets banned. Not my problem.
Of course. Or, if you just pay me $50, I can get this, and this done, and they're not doing anything. I mean, it's just obviously setting themselves up. Because if they really believe that somebody would do that, I mean, you're just not the smartest tool in the shed.
Joe's got a bridge to sell you.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for episode 25 of the AdSense Flippers podcast. Thanks for being with us. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at AdSense Flippers and give us a shout. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye now.
You've been listening to the AdSense Flippers podcast with Justin and Joe. Be sure to hit up AdSenseFlippers.com for more. That's AdSenseFlippers.com. Thanks for listening.